the opportunity to speak, well, not the last time, the second last time in Beijing parlance, that I had the opportunity to speak on HIV and AIDS, I spoke very clearly about where it is that the ministry must go. And at that time, I made it known that we have to restructure the HIV Commission. I think we must. Things have changed, times have changed. But I did not want to convey the impression to anybody that as part of that restructuring, we would get smaller. In fact, the opposite is true. That as we now lead in this fight against HIV and AIDS, the unit has to become bigger. And in fact, the director would tell you that I've said more than once that we need more staff. We need to do more things. We need to focus and we need to get priority back onto this HIV fight and this HIV cause. That in many ways I thought we'd become a little too quiet. And so that is where I think we have to begin, and that it cannot be the work of the government alone to be able to do this. And in fact, the theme this year, Let Communities Lead, is so important, and not only for the HIV fight, just generally for anything in social development. That you cannot build any meaningful policy of any kind that is not built on the people who are either experiencing it, working with it, dealing with it in one way or the other. And the tragedy for most policy is that we talk about these things and we exclude the very people who are supposed to be involved in the fight, and it makes no sense. And so we end up with a lot of policy on paper that does nothing to advance the interests of people. We have to be able to change that and to make sure that policies make sense. And I used to be a lecturer in social policy and research methods at UB for a number of years. My favorite class that I taught was participatory research methods. I taught it for a long time. And one of the things, the principles of participatory research methods are simple, but the underlying principle is this. If you've done a research paper, or if you've done a project, or if you've done something, the way to evaluate it is not by a whole set of strategies and different programs afterward. The way to evaluate whether your project makes sense is simply that the community that you were investigating recognize it as their work, recognize it as being relevant, and recognize it as being able to change their lives. If you do all the other measures and matrices and everything else, metrics, but they don't relate to people, then essentially you're wasting time.